How would you like to protect your investments from a stock market crash, protect your savings from inflation, have lower taxes, and more freedom? Those are all topics I'm going to cover in this video. My name is Maxwell McGuire, and first of all, I want to say thank you to all my subscribers. This channel just reached 100 subscribers over the past week. I also want to announce I'm taking the channel in a slightly new direction by adding some more topics. The previous name of this channel was Roundabout Investing, which is a synonym for Austrian Investing. And while that is still going to be a key focus for the channel, I want to include some more areas that I have experience in, including sound money, lower taxes, and more freedom. So this video is going to be a combination of introducing those different topics, sharing a little bit about me and my background in those, and also giving you some free resources and ways that I might be able to help you. First off, let's talk about Austrian investing. This combines two of my favorite things, Austrian economics and investing. This is a relatively new field. There aren't a lot of investors out there that identify themselves as Austrian investors. There are a couple, including Mark Spitznagel and Ronald Stoferle. I'm going to put links down to some of their books and resources in the description. That would be a good place to start to learn more about Austrian investing. To learn more specifically about Austrian economics, if you have a spare 2.5 hours, I would really recommend checking out Jordan Peterson's recent interview with Bob Murphy, who has a PhD in economics and is an expert in Austrian economics. I would also recommend checking out the Mises Institute. They have many free books, articles, podcasts, you name it, on their website. The reason I think it's important to learn about economics, some people might wonder, okay, well, why do I need to know this stuff? The reason is because right now we have a lot of government intervention in our economy and in the stock market. The stock market has basically become a casino, and this sign right behind me here says to end the Fed. The Fed intervenes in the markets, it intervenes in the economy with the stated purpose of protecting us. Supposedly, they're supposed to be keeping price levels stable and keeping our economy stable, but unfortunately, their intervention actually causes the opposite. That's what learning Austrian economics will teach you, is that any type of government intervention in the economy is actually destructive. And when it comes to investing, now, why is it important to have an understanding of Austrian economics? I mean, why can't you just look at companies and maybe, like Warren Buffett style, value these companies and buy undervalued companies and do okay? This comes back to the government intervention. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. And if you look at the stock market right now, we have tons of bubble stocks and stocks that are wildly overvalued. Value investors are getting made fun of. We've been getting killed by growth investors. I'm in fact right now in the Chartered Financial Analyst program, which you learn how to value companies. And unfortunately, right now you don't really need to be a CFA in order to do well in the stock market. In fact, it actually helps if you aren't in the environment that we're in. Understanding Austrian economics will help you understand more the distortions that we have and what you need to do in order to protect yourself, because the Federal Reserve is the ultimate cause of the booms and busts in the stock market. Conventional investment advisors right now just tell you to buy the S&P, hold, never sell, and just ride out these drawdowns and you'll do fine. But unfortunately, I don't think that's very good advice, because even though it may have worked in the past few crashes because the Fed has stepped in and printed tons of money, that is not going to last forever, and the next drawdown may not recover. One of the most important things in investing is to avoid large drawdowns, and that is where Austrian investing is going to help you and save you in the next crash. In my very first video back in February, which has also been my most viewed video, I gave 5 ways to protect your portfolio from a stock market crash. I plan to expand on that video. That was a quick summary, but I'd like to go into detail into each of those strategies, so please look forward to a series on that. Okay, so now on to sound money. What I advocate for is the monetary metals, which are gold and silver, because those have been considered money for thousands of years. And as you well know, if you've been paying attention recently, we've been seeing really high inflation, food prices, energy prices, housing prices, everything is going through the roof right now. And it's a direct result of the Fed and their monetary policy. So in order to protect yourself from that, you cannot hold US dollars over a long period of time. The stock market is also not going to protect you from high inflation. In fact, this is something that a lot of people don't understand. They think that if we're going to see high inflation, I better be in the stock market because the stocks are going to inflate. But actually, inflation kills economic growth, which eventually will kill the stock market. You want to be in something that stores value and is an inflation hedge. Gold and silver fits the bill on those. One question that I get a lot from subscribers, and including this last week, thank you for submitting your question. New subscriber, Daughter of the King. Her question was, where do you recommend buying gold and silver? I have a few places that I recommend, but if you're looking to buy physical bullion like coins and bars, my top recommendation is Money Metals Exchange based in Eagle, Idaho. They have some of the lowest premiums and great service. They can deliver to you, or you can have it stored at their state-of-the-art facility. So I'm going to put a link down to them in the description. And if you mention my name, Maxwell McGuire, you will get a free 1/2 ounce of silver. Another place that I recommend is Vaulted at vaulted.com. Now, this would be for people who might not care about buying the physical coins or storing them or buying specific coins, but it does give you the same benefits of physical ownership because it is fully allocated, and you do also have the option of having it physically delivered to you. One of the benefits of using Vaulted is that you're able to just go online and make the purchases, or even with an app on your phone. So it's more like buying crypto than it is, going to the coin dealer or something like that. I'm also going to have a link down to that in the description. Another question from Daughter of the King, and this is also a question I often get, is what are my thoughts on crypto? And is crypto sound money? I don't have a cut and dried answer to that, but I am not anti-crypto and I'm not anti-Bitcoin. In fact, I first bought Bitcoin back in 2013 when it was at $40. Wish I would have bought more of it, of course. But that was shortly after I volunteered for Ron Paul's campaign in 2012. And my thoughts in general are that there is huge potential reward with certain cryptos, but of course you have to be very careful because there are a lot of scams out there. Bitcoin has definitely the potential to be sound money. It has the properties that would lend itself to be sound money, but I don't think that it is quite there yet. And I also think that there are a lot of risks that are being ignored or swept under the rug by the Bitcoin maximalists. While I, in theory, and as an Austrian, of course, I love the idea of Bitcoin, in practice, I can't fully put myself behind it. Or I would just say that if you're going to invest in it, to be very careful and to look at correlations between the stock market and understand all the different risks involved. I don't have those same reservations about gold and silver. Those are much safer bets. Now on to the third topic that I wanted to discuss, and which is also going to be a future topic on this channel, is lowering your taxes. Now, as a CPA and a libertarian, this is a topic that is, of course, very close to my heart. In some sense, I'm a bit of a tax refugee. The reason behind that is that I used to live in the state of Oregon, which had a relatively high state income tax. And while that might not matter to most people, unless you're a very high income earner, I happen to have and be blessed with some ownership in a family business, which makes it very important to me what the state income tax rate is. It got to a point where it was like boiling a frog, and my tax situation continued to get worse, which caused me to leave the state of Oregon to go to Washington, which has no state income tax. After moving to Washington, we had the pandemic and the lockdowns and the craziness that eventually caused me to become more of a political refugee from Washington to move here where I am now in Texas. So that's what actually these last two topics about lower taxes and more freedom. One thing I want to cover in this channel is for people to think about. One of the great things about living in America is that we have different states that have different policies and different governments, different advantages and disadvantages. And maybe you're living in a state that has high taxes or that has extremely stringent COVID policies. Well, maybe you consider moving to a better, freer state. So that's something I hope to talk about and talk about my experience and what has changed for me. Specifically on the tax issue, I had my own CPA practice when I lived in Oregon, auditing 401k plans. And another issue I want to address in this channel is the conventional wisdom that you should just max out your 401k and rely on that for your retirement, I think is misguided. There are other strategies that long term could help you pay less taxes than putting all of your money into the 401k. One of the assumptions of using the 401k is, that your tax rate in retirement is going to be lower than your tax rate when you're putting the money in there. And that's not the best assumption, because as the government continues to spend more and more, we have to expect that taxes will also continue to go up. You don't want to rely on the fact or hope that you're going to be in a lower income bracket when you're retired. That's not necessarily the best strategy. Things that I'm going to cover are Roth IRAs. In addition to Roth IRAs, there are other strategies for getting your money into after-tax buckets and accumulating savings while avoiding taxes. And one of my favorite strategies is something called the infinite banking concept. One of the best minds behind this, Nelson Nash, who wrote the book Becoming Your Own Banker, which is a way to literally become your own banker and separate yourself from the banking system and accumulate wealth and pass on wealth without exorbitant taxes. He called this Austrian economics in action. And so this is something that I'm going to also be covering in the channel. For now, I'm going to be putting some links down in the description to some great resources regarding the infinite banking concept, including the book Becoming Your Own Banker, as well as some YouTube videos that will help explain the foundations of the concept. I'll have more to say about taxes, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to move on from escaping from tyrannical taxes to escaping from tyrannical governments. In the past year and a half, it's breathtaking to see how many liberties have been lost and the alarming rate of loss of our freedoms. What might even be more alarming is how willing many people have been able to accept it. Now, like I said before, I moved out of the state of Washington to Texas to experience more freedom from COVID restrictions and a more friendly business environment. But from the lockdowns to the masks to the mandates, I'm afraid it's only going to continue to get worse. One of the good things that's come out of this, though, is that many people are waking up to the fact that you can't necessarily trust the government to act in your best interest. Ron Paul has been talking about many of these issues for years, and unfortunately, many people considered him a conspiracy nut or an extremist, but many people now, I believe, are seeing that he's been right all along about many of these government agencies, including the CDC and the FDA. Well, this is the part where I need to be a little careful what I say, because I don't want to dip back below 100 subscribers. But if it hasn't become obvious to you yet, I think it's becoming quite apparent that we've been lied to pretty badly throughout this so-called pandemic. If you're new to the thought of maybe not being able to fully trust what the government tells you, I would highly recommend reading some books by Ron Paul. You probably can't see the exact titles on this poster, but one of them is called Liberty Defined: 50 Essential Issues That Affect Our Freedom. Another one is End the Fed, which is going to give you some insight into how the Fed's monetary policies affect our financial freedom. In addition to that, I would highly recommend subscribing to Ron Paul Liberty Report YouTube channel to keep up on current issues. Thank you again for watching. If you like this video, please click like. If you'd like to hear more deep dives into these topics, please subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.